Hello, I'm here to show a demonstration of the different hoses that can be used on a boat. Most of you actually know them, but some of you may not be familiar with the different classifications of hoses, so I'm here to help you out. So some of them are self-evident, some of them may be less so. So let's go through them together, and you can see as the hoses in here are mostly all within your boat, depending on the size of your boat. So let's go through some of them. So the first one is clear through hose. This is not reinforced and it's good for water systems that don't really have much applied pressure. Some of those examples might be bilge hose, but you don't want corrugated hose. So on this side you can see this is corrugated hose, and this is most likely used for bilge pump applications. There's little to no pressure and they're quite flexible. So they're thin walled and they can be passed through nearly anywhere. Now, the next up from that bilge hose in terms of strength would be the non-reinforced hoses, which are basically clear hoses that can also be used for that and can be used for drain scuppers and other low priority hose systems. From there, you can go into the fiberglass reinforced water hoses, and those become stiffer, less malleable, but a lot stronger in terms of resistance, and that's where normally you'll have most of the boat's pressure systems included in this. So all of your water system in the boat and the pressurized side would use these type, or in the newer series they might use PEX. Now PEX is stiffer rigid hose and usually designated between blue for cold and red for hot, coming out of a hot water tank possibly. And so these are rigid and they usually include clip-ons and screw-ons, and they're adapters that go straight onto your accessories from this hose. And I've got them here in different size configuration for both metric and English standard. So that's why there's 4 of them here presented. Next, as we work up from this side, so we've gone through the bilge hose, we've gone through from the non-reinforced to the reinforced to the PEX. As we work up here, we now have sanitation hose. So these actually block odors, and so they can be used for water inlets, but they are also used for the macerating toilets and for the manual toilets. So usually the bigger hose is for the manual pump out toilets, and the smaller hoses will be for the water inlet or electric macerating toilets, because they chop up the waste and they don't need such a big hose for the discharge. So that covers most of the water hoses. Next, we have fuel hose, and fuel hose are usually categorized by either a B-class hose or an A-class hose. And these here are the B-class hoses, followed by the A-class hose. And the difference is they have a fiberglass reinforcement, and the inner wall on the A-class is a higher quality hose. So if you were to take an example, the B-class hoses would be used for fuel lines on an outboard engine. So the hoses that come with the primer bulb and the 2 clips on a portable gas tank and an outboard engine, you would use a B-class hose, which is loosely left in the boat, and you would use A-class hoses as permanent installations for under the deck tanks and ventilation systems, the fuel pump run, the inboard engine fuel feed lines. They would normally use A-series hoses. From there, as we progress higher, we become rigider and rigider. And so even as B-class hoses, they're a lot more flexible than their A-class counterpart. The A-class hoses are usually a little bit more difficult to manipulate, but still they are flexible. Once you get into these classes of hoses, they become significantly less flexible because they now have stainless steel braids inside. So they've got a core, which make them even stronger. And within these classes, there really is, relatively speaking, 3 classes. You've got wet exhaust, and you've got wet exhaust, but as well, you've got high heat and you have fuel applications. So let's go through them. So you've got the 100 series, the 250 series, and the 350 series. Now, what makes the difference between each of them is that the 100 series can withstand higher heat, but the constructs is not as good for petrochemical pass-through. So why you would use a high heat is for exhausts and for water locks and for generator exhaust lines. for all of the exhaust systems coming out into the lake and out of the generator, you would be best to use. They can be interchanged, but they have optimal performance for wet exhaust, and these would have higher output for petrochemicals with a lower heat range. So it's a lower heat range, but not significantly higher. So they can be interchanged, but that's the main difference between the two. The last one, the red one, which is the 350, is specifically designed for fuels. So it's got a coated liner inside that can withstand continuous use and pass-through of pure gasoline inside, which is an abrasive in itself. So that's what the main difference is between all of those hoses. We have finally here the blower hoses, and the blower hoses to escape the exhaust fumes out of the blower systems prior to starting out, to freshen the air, as your compartment might have exhaust and flammable gases that can build up, like batteries and leaky gas and all sorts of fumes. So these are your blower hoses, also known as the dryer hoses. So hopefully that helps, and of course you can contact us, all the measurements, let us know, and we'll help you on your way. Thank you.